Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the CCA CA16 Pro, and these are my Honest Audiophile Impressions. I want to thank KZ for providing the CCA CA16 Pros for review. To greatly appreciate it, KZ, you rock. Check out the links down below for information regarding how you can follow the channel, connect with the channel, all kinds of other information regarding gear and music and all kinds of stuff. Check out the links down below. Also, there'll be information regarding where you can purchase the CCA CA16 Pros. All right, so the CA16 Pros from CCA are a hybrid design. They have a 10mm dual magnet driver along with 7 BAs on each side, and they connect with a 2-pin connection. They have 24 ohms of impedance, 109 decibels of sensitivity. That's about it. All right. Unboxing experience, you get a cable, a set of silicone tips, small, medium, and large, and your monitor. That's it. So nothing too spectacular to talk about there. Design-wise, pretty standard fare. Nothing out of the ordinary for a universal fit. Get a little bit of branding on the outside of the shell. You can get these in different colors, by the way. Small angle, bit of a wingtip here, and the nozzle is somewhat short. It's an okay design, nothing special for the price point, nothing out of the ordinary. Comfort wise, they're okay. They're an all right fit. They block out outside noises fairly well. I had no problems with wearing them for about an hour to an hour and a half before that wingtip really started to bother me and become cumbersome. Believe it or not, those really thin, flimsy tips that CCA provided do the job. I tried other tips, but I always kept coming back to the stock tips, so I used those. Overall, the fit, design, the build is just okay. It's average. Don't expect anything different. Sound-wise, we used all sorts of sources for music and for testing of the CCA CA16 Pro. I used the Sony NW-WM1A, the Sony NW-A105, the Heidi's AP80 Pro, and also I used a IFI XDSD Griffin and an IFI Go Blue, and then many different dongles, the periodic audio Rhodium, the Venture Electronics Odyssey HD, X Duo Link 2021 version, and then the next drive is Spectra X. Everything drived it very easily, had no problems whatsoever, and I found that the CA16 Pros are not really amp picky whatsoever. Everything drives them, it sounds fine. Speaking of sound, how do they sound? The CA16 Pros, V-shaped, somewhat thin in the mids and treble, and elevated sub-bass, mid-bass, and elevated treble. These have your pretty standard V-shape sound signature. Bass is big, lots of quantity, average quality. I found that the sub-bass and mid-bass is dominant. You get a lot of thump and a lot of bigness with the bass on the CA16 Pros. They're okay when it comes to details and retrieval. Not the best, not the worst. You're going to get kind of an average sound signature with the bass of the CA16 Pros when it comes to details and resolution, but you're definitely going to get a lot of impact. Mids are recessed. They are overpowered from the bass and the treble. Mids have a decentness to them when it comes to clarity, and they have an okayness when it comes to the just overall tone and presentation. They lack some note weight and density. They're not as full as the bass is, and they're okay. I'm I'm all right with it for being a V shape, but I do wish that they were a little bit more present and a little bit more full. And then the treble does thin out. It is elevated. It is way too far elevated. It is peaky, and there is just way too much presence in the treble, and it becomes fatiguing. There is somewhat bit of harshness and some of just a hotness to the treble on the CA16 Pros. I'm not really a fan of the treble on the CA16 Pro. Soundstage wise, they're fairly wide, but it is because of that elevation and that openness and airiness that they tried to bring in based on the elevated treble. And it's not a very accurate soundstage. Everything sounds wide. It does not matter what the venue is of your music song. Everything sounds wide instead of it accurately portraying different sizes of venues. And then it's not the most deep. It's kind of a very shallow stage. You can't really read into the stage. It gets very clustered and confused on tracks that are more expansive. And layering is not very good. It kind of glosses things over and kind of puts things on top of each other. It doesn't separate out the instruments as well as it should on busier tracks. Imaging and tracking is okay. It's not anything fantastic, but it's about average. You're going to be able to place things on the right side or left side, but as I said, things will kind of get muddled and jumbled together and confused on busier tracks. Tone and timbre is not the best on the CA16 Pro. It's not its strength. It's a little too thin. Doesn't really have a natural sound to it. It lacks note weight and density. And also the tone is just off. It just doesn't sound correct. It's not offensive, but it's also not pleasing. It's just kind of there. Overall, I find that the detail retrieval and resolution is just kind of average at best. You're not really getting anything spectacular with the CA16 when it comes to detail retrieval, and resolution is kind of smeared at times and does lack refinement. The CCA CA16 Pros are an okay IEM in my opinion. They sound all right. They're not offensive, but they're not wow. You know, they just don't do anything spectacular to stand out at the price point. If you're looking for an IEM in this price point that stands out, you can look at some of its competition, like the Melee from Triple N. The Triple N HBB Melees have a more natural and accurate tone and timbre. They are cleaner and have a more pleasing tone. They do lack a little bit of air in the treble, but they overall just present in a more pleasing way and are not as aggressive. Then the one that I dropped here on the floor, this is the Massdrop Aria. The Massdrop Aria has a more pleasing sound signature, more controlled, more detailed, better resolving, and more accurate tone and timbre, and a more accurate soundstage. And then my favorite in this price point would be the new Tin Hi-Fi T3 Plus, which is going to be getting its own review here shortly on the channel. To me, the T3 Plus is the go-to in this price point. It has well-controlled bass, very good tone and timbre, and exceptional treble with clarity and airiness and presentation that is accurate and true. And then the soundstage is very much accurate in portraying of the way that the venues are, and does a very good job with depth and layering and imaging. Overall, I find that the CCA CA16 is just another IEM in a very competitive price point of $70, and it doesn't do anything to set itself apart from its competition. It's just kind of one of the others. The other three that I mentioned stand out more over the CA16 Pro, and I recommend those three over the CA16 Pro. But if you are interested in the CCA CA16 Pro, you're not going to really be disappointed or let down. It's just an okay sound. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching. and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, check those off. And then don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video. And also check out all the links down below for how you can connect with the channel and where you can purchase the CCA CA16 Pros. This has been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching. Remember to enjoy the music, and honesty is the best policy.